Hi, this is Andrew Twidwell, owner of ABT Plumbing, Electric, Heat, and Air. Once again with the show You Got This. It's a show of DIY do's and don'ts. And I have the pleasure of having Mr. Dan Foss, who is the head of our drain cleaning division, here in the studio, aka our interrogation room. It's kind of our conference room. And I also have Rosalie that's kind of zooming in. We're Riverside chatting from beautiful LA, which actually probably isn't anywhere near as hot as it is up here in the lovely Gold Country. We were just kind of talking off the air about what's been going on lately. The fair, I'm sure everybody survived and had a good time at the fair. That is done, and that was really hot, but now it's even hotter. I don't know, it was about 100 degrees yesterday. We're recording on Wednesday. So Tuesday was 100 degrees. Today is going to be 100 degrees. Tomorrow, I think it's going to be a little cooler. By Friday, we might be down below like 95, but still ridiculously warm. I don't know. By this time of year, I'm actually kind of done with summer. I love it when it's coming up, but man, it's hot. How about you, Dan?
Oh, I love the summer. It's the one time I could say I'm hot and nobody disagrees with me. Nah, yeah, I love the summer. I get to go backpacking, fishing, camping. I'm a lot more active during the summer, but we got soccer practice now, things like that, and enjoyed the fair. The fair was great.
Hey, did you watch, speaking
awesome.
of soccer, did you watch the Women's World Cup?
I've been watching it periodically.
Man, that's been some good play.
Yes, it has. It has.
Man, they've come up a lot.
Unfortunate that we weren't in there, but we'll go from there. That's good. Everybody's catching up. I love it.
Exactly.
Competition makes things better.
Yeah. South Africa, man, those girls were amazing.
Yeah.
I was blown away from them. Anyway, that's been fun. So yeah, so we're tailing off the end of summer. We're in August now, mid-August. And oh, by the way, so we do have these crazy specials going on until the end of the month. We've got a $49 HVAC tune-up. I know, if you're using your HVAC, you might want to have it looked at if you haven't had it looked at. We've also got a crazy deal for $49. We come in and do a water heater flush. I don't know the last time you flushed a water heater. We talk about it here all the time. You should be doing that at least yearly. We go a step further, though. We make sure all the systems around the water heater are safe. Make sure that it's not spewing any carbon monoxide. That sort of thing. Make sure it's not on its way out. So $49, again, crazy deal. And then we have a $49 electrical inspection. If your house is over 20 years old and you've never had your electrical inspected, you really should do that.
It's time.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think of those things as wearing out, but like switches and outlets have like a lifespan of about 10 years, circuit breakers about 20 to 30, and we'll come in and actually inspect them and make sure they're not overheating. And we were talking about it I was talking with my electricians, and we were talking about arcing. So one of the things that we talk about often is arcing, and how do you explain that to a client? And arcing is literally electrons trying to find ground. It's lightning. That's the same thing that happens with lightning. It's electrons trying to find ground, and that's what's happening inside the wall. So if you got a switch that kind of makes that little sizzling sound, or an outlet where you're plugging in and makes a sizzling sound, that's arcing. It causes fires. So definitely have us come out and look at it. We're only charging $49 for that right now, so definitely take advantage of that. And then Dan's here, and he's actually runs our drain cleaning division. That's a division we've only had up for 60 days.
Yeah, a little over 2 months.
A little about 2 months. So we're trying to build that division. So we're doing a $97 drain cleaning. Any residential drain, whether it's inside or outside, it's only $97. If we don't clear it, we don't charge you a dime. So we're really trying to ramp that up, and we've got some really great employees that are working for us now. We actually just brought back an employee that used to work for us forever, and he actually helped me move when he was in high school 7 years ago. So great kid, great local kid. We've got 2 local kids that are in that division, and we're really screaming deals right now. We're trying to keep our guys busy, and summer's almost over, so we want to make sure you guys take advantage of these. With that, we can kind of roll into our show, I guess, huh? We got a Q&A. Rosalie managed to compile all these different questions from our customers and our clients and put them together in kind of a sort of semi-logical order. So, I'm not saying that they're random questions, so they're kind of all over the place. So that wasn't a slight on you by any means.
Well, they are in order. They have questions in front of them.
Yeah, we have numbers. So yeah.
Okay, so
we're good. Let's do this.
Here's the thing. I have zero concerns about either of you being able to answer these. because
Well, if we don't know the answer, we'll just make it up. So, yeah.
right. So that's why I figured. Okay, so I just
Yeah,
went
we're
ahead
dudes.
and grabbed. I grabbed some interesting questions that I thought the ones that I thought I'm most interested in hearing the answer to. So, here's the first question. Okay, so can someone with DIY skills really install a new toilet?
Dan.
Well, I would say, like with anything, it's just a matter of how much skills you've got. But I mean, if you know how to turn a wrench, read some directions, it's not impossible by any means. Just a good thing to really test it out afterwards and make sure that you don't have leaks underneath it and everything else, so that way you're not causing damage to your floor or anything else. So if you feel like you can handle it, go for it. If if you feel like it might be a little too much, call us out. We'll be happy to help you out.
I'm going to take that back a little bit. Yes, you can, but there's some things where a professional is going to do things a lot better. I can't tell you how many times we've gone out and repaired toilets where people have double stacked the wax because the closet flange is lower than the floor, and people don't realize that by double stacking, wax is not supposed to be a bridge or a pipe. It's supposed to just be a thin layer of wax between the flange and the toilet. And I can't tell you how many times we've seen that where it's done thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in damage because some tile guy or some DIY person installed it and thought they knew what they're doing and installed this double wax. The other thing we've seen is people try to literally use wood screws to screw the toilet down because the closet flange is gone.
Broken.
And again, tens of thousands or potentially tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage. So it is one thing that you can technically do, but there are some knowledge things that you may not be aware of that can literally be buried underneath the toilet and you won't even see it and will rot your floor out. And next thing you know, your toilet's sitting in your crawl space. So,
Or you're fighting and going to the hardware store 5 or 6 times for something that we can tend to do a lot faster just because of the
because we've done it a
base,
couple hundred times. I can't even tell you how many toilets I've installed, especially in the 90s when they were giving out major incentives to replace toilets in San Francisco. We would go through whole apartment buildings, and that was my job, just going through installing toilets. We do 5 a day. So there is something to be said about that knowledge that if you're only doing this for one time ever, it can be a little tricky. So technically, yes, but do your research before you dive into that. You definitely want to know some of the things that you can do wrong and do some damage.
Okay. I've actually personally seen someone with the double wax. That's why I thought this was a great question. So I'm glad you addressed that. Don't
very good question.
do
And
it.
it's classic. A lot of people do it because it's like, why not? It seals it. But yeah, it's not meant to be a pipe. It's meant to just be a thin layer about no greater than an eighth of an inch. And when you've got 2 or 3 inches of wax, you have the potential for that to just blow through. It's not a mechanical pipe.
Excellent. Excellent answer. Okay. So here's the next question. There's a statement and then a question. So bear with me. I have a well. Should I get my water tested every year, or is there a better schedule? Like after storms, annually, biannually? What's your take?
Well, my parents are on a well, so this is something that I do with them. Is we tend to get the well tested, just kind of see what the water quality is like about every 5 years. Every year, I think, is a little excessive. If we had a major situation, let's say there was a major earthquake, or you had a landslide on your property, where we've had a few of those areas, happen in the area. You have something major like that, yeah, it's probably good to get it tested right away. But about every 5 years is a good amount of time to get it tested, and there's a lot of water quality things that we can do to make your water not only safe, but taste better, smell better, help protect your plumbing, your copper, your fixtures, everything else with acidic water, a lot of iron, any number of other things that can be in the water based on where you're at. So, yeah. But I'd say about every 5 years. What do you think?
I think every 5 years is fine, and we can come out and we're actually running a special. I forgot about that special because we're actually going to do this for the Tri-County Home Show. I'm going to offer it right here. We can come out and test your water for free and do a basic test to check for acidity, which we find a lot. And it's unfortunately, acidity literally means off neutral, off of 7, right? If you're down like 6.7, which is pretty common up here, 6.5, you're getting pretty acidic, and it will literally take the copper. It'll dissolve the copper out of your pipes and put pinholes in it. The other thing we see a lot is the aesthetic ones where you've got calcium magnesium, where you get water staining on your dishes and on your walls. We can also help with fixtures. And it also builds this nice big fat blanket in your water heater so that it
sounds like there's rocks in there.
It sounds like it's rocks, and you hear kind of
the rocks are dancing.
A popcorn sound in your water heater when it fires up. It kind of makes these loud explosion sounds. It's literally little steam bubbles in the layers of sediment of all that calcium and magnesium. They're sitting at the bottom of your water heater, insulating the water from the fuel, so your efficiency of your water heater. So we're also doing the $49 water heater flush, which you should be doing every year, especially if you're on a well. So I would say every 5 years. If you want something a little bit more extensive, if you want to get biologicals and things like that, where you want to know if you've got any kind of pathogens or anything in your water, definitely, if you are at all concerned, it's worth getting that taken care of. If you've noticed any kind of issues with your gut or anything like that, it's pretty inexpensive. I think it's under $200, if I'm not mistaken, to take it into Cranmer. Our buddy Jason Fowler's company, there on East Main Street. They've got water sample bottles there for free. You take those, and they tell you how to take the samples and bring it back, and they can do a full board test on your water. If you're moving into a new place and it's got a well, definitely have it tested.
Yes.
Because you have no idea what it's like or what the water's like, and if there is any equipment. If there is equipment there, you also want to have it tested because the equipment may be working or it may not, and I would test both pre and post water treatment. So that means before it goes through the water softener or filtration system, and then after, to make sure that it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. But I think every 5 years.
Very good point.
Every 5 years, or on a new purchase, or like you said, any kind of changes. And I would also say, like this year, we had a lot of water, a lot of rain. That's going to change the aquifer as well. So there could be some new fractures, and we're always concerned about biologicals getting into our well, which can upset our stomach. So it's not a bad idea to get it tested.
Okay. So here's another question. When it comes to installing a backyard sprinkler system, which sounds like a really big task, what is the most challenging part, do you find?
We're actually working on one right now this
you?
week. Yeah. Part of it is just there's so many options.
I'm gonna take this one.
Oh, then I'll be quiet.
And I will
Go for it.
I'm thinking about what I find the most difficult part of installing a backyard sprinkler system is the design aspect of it. I've seen too many systems that have been installed with poor design, and the spray heads don't hit everything. You need to know what the water pressure is, and you need to know what kind of volume you're getting. So there's a lot of factors that come into when you're designing a sprinkler system that will determine how far those sprinkler heads will actually spray water, and it'll determine how many stations you're going to need. So I think that's the most critical thing.
I would agree. Yes.
Right? Is this in the beginning? Is knowing you can't just go in and install everything on one irrigation valve, because you're going to have just this little spit coming out of your sprinkler heads, right? Which will barely get like a foot. So you need to know those sort of things, and that really, there are programs out there. There are apps for that. It's not hard to find that information. So definitely do a really good design if you're.
But it takes doing some homework before you just start going and putting it in.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's not just sprinklers. You got drip systems. You got semi-drip systems. There's like I said, a lot of options.
Yeah.
And then the other cool thing is, I just have one in my house. It's pretty cool. It's a system that works on a Wi-Fi. So I can actually right now, if I wanted to, turn my sprinkler on in my front yard and make my wife wonder why it turned on.
Right.
It's so fun.
I do that with the thermostat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why'd my kids turn the AC on so low?
No, I don't mess with my thermostat because my wife will kill me. Yeah. So, but when it comes to she goes, "Why is the sprinkler on?" Oh, I was testing it out for a customer and showing them what was going on. So there's a lot of cool options out there now when it comes to things like that. But ways of saving water with drip systems and certain things you want drip systems, other things like lawn and things like that, you're going to want more sprinklers type systems. So design is a big key. Yeah.
And when it comes to actually physically doing the work, it's really not that hard. I mean, it's gluing PVC together. So, and it's the only parts that are under constant pressure are at the valve. Everything else has flow through it. So even those joints don't have to be that great because they're not really, they're never under full pressure. But you still want to use primer and you still want to use the appropriate glues. You still want to clean your fittings, that sort of thing. And you want to size it correctly. So the design is a really, really critical thing. But the actual digging and laying the pipe and gluing the fittings together,
I would say this also, just as for any of you guys out there that want to do this yourself, go for it. Try it. I mean, experiment with it. But just as from a plumber to a customer that I'd like to see just have a successful turn, don't use schedule 20 pipe. Use schedule 40.
Minimum.
Don't use the thin wall. Use a regular schedule 40 pipe.
That's critical. And I'll say one other thing along that lines too is a big issue, a big problem that we have in our drinking water systems is a lack of backflow prevention. And I've seen a lot of irrigation systems being installed without backflow prevention. And a backflow prevention is when you see those irrigation valves that come up out of the ground and they actually have a vacuum breaker in there. So if there's any back siphoning in the system, it's not going to pull water off of your lawn. If it lacks any backflow prevention, if there is a fire on the street or if there's a pressure drop for some reason, it can literally pull water from your lawn, which can include pesticides, fertilizer, any other feces or whatever else, back into your drinking water and then contaminate your drinking water, and you won't even know it until you start taking the sip. And then some of the pesticides and fertilizer you may not even taste, and it can do some damage pretty quick. So make sure you have backflow
prevention
on it. Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
Next.
I just want to make sure we're done with solids and waste and all that. Okay, I'm going to stay in my lane here. So another question, and I'm actually curious about the answer to this because I see them all over the place. Those tablets that you place in your toilet tank, your toilet water tank, does it hurt your plumbing?
Please use them. Please use them. Use them a lot. Double up on it. It keeps us really busy.
How's that for an answer? Yeah, it's best not to use those because what ends up happening is there's two different types. One has chlorine. It's like a chlorine tablet, or like bleach, and then the other one is kind of like a slimy. They're usually blue. The slimy one tends to also have the bleach and stuff in it, but it just gets on top of everything and makes it to where you start to have leaks and problems. The other one is a lot more harsh, but it causes your plumbing inside the tank to become brittle. It can cause other failures within the tank. So, yeah, if you want to see us, we're happy to come out and fix that. But it's best not to use it. Just actually, clean your bowl.
They literally say on all the plumbing parts, and even when you buy a brand new toilet, so we talk about can you install a toilet by yourself, they literally say don't use these things. If you do, it's going to void the warranty. The chlorine, all the rubber components that we install inside of the toilet, that includes the flapper. I've seen flappers that look like taco shells, and that's because of the chlorine tabs.
The waves.
The waves. They're literally waves, right? I've also seen fill valves. Actually, not fill valves. Excuse me. The fill valve. Yeah. The water, where the water inlet, the gasket that is between the fill valve and the toilet, rotted out because of chlorine tablets, and have gotten water damage on the floor. So chlorine bleach will destroy rubber components. So no, do not use them. They do make those ones that clip inside the toilet bowl. Those are fine. because
as long as it doesn't come off the bowl and then down
And
here, and it causes stoppage.
we've seen that because we've had to pull those out. We've had to extract those with a closet
Auger,
auger.
yeah.
So and they're not easy to get out because
No.
I've had some that I couldn't get out, and I've had to use a hammer to show the client where it was because it gets stuck inside the toilet.
Or pull the toilet off just to auger it backwards.
Yeah. So
it's a mess.
be cautious. But yeah, definitely do not use those tablets unless. And I totally said it facetiously by saying, please use it because we make a lot of money from those. We replace a lot of components because of them.
But if we can save you the money and do it
That's the whole
yourself,
point of this job.
that's why we're here.
The show is to make sure that you can call us less.
Love the honesty, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a good question. I think that most of us would like to know as well. If I notice a change in my water pressure, what's the first thing I should investigate?
I'm going to take this one
Okay.
because I think
I got some thoughts too,
I
but
think
go
it has
ahead.
nothing to do with water pressure.
Go for it.
The majority of the time when I hear that is because I've got one fixture that doesn't have the volume of water coming through. And there's a difference between pressure and volume. Pressure is what is coming in from the city or my pump, right? And that's pretty much static. And unless I have a pressure reducing valve or something to increase the pressure. What I see typically though is I've got low volume in my shower, I got low volume in my kitchen, I got low volume in my bathroom, something like that. 9 times out of 10, it's debris that's migrated into the aerator or the shower head or something like that. Or I've got really hard water, which is not uncommon up here, and it is calcified inside the shower head. And so to solve those, I got to pull the aerator, I got to pull the shower head, I got to get those things apart, clean them out. The shower head, I'm gonna put it in some vinegar and vinegar water solution and let it sit overnight, or I'm gonna fill a plastic bag with vinegar, water solution, and a rubber band and have it sit on the shower head, so I don't even have to take the shower head off. I'm gonna do something like that. That's going to increase the flow, and so we're really critical. Change in water pressure. We do see that often, but it's usually in my pressure is increased, hasn't decreased. And that is when we see a pressure reducing valve fail. And we see that all the time. And we get those calls like, my faucet just keeps dripping. And unfortunately, I've had technicians go out and replace faucets and they come to find out that no, it wasn't the faucet that was dripping, or the faucet dripping was just a symptom of high water pressure. They had 120, 150 PSI. Everything is designed, all plumbing fixtures are designed to work within the parameters of 40 PSI at the low end and 80 PSI at the top, no greater than 80. So we've got it, and the water districts, they only need to get you the water. It's up to the homeowner to mitigate either the low pressure or the high pressure. So if it's low pressure, which happens often, we've got to pressurize it. We've got to put a pressure vessel in there to increase the pressure. We see a lot of high pressure, especially in like our gated communities like Wildwood, Lake of the Pines, a lot of pressure reducers there, reducing valves. And surprisingly, those pressure reducing valves, they've got a lifespan of about 10 years. And people don't realize that. They just think it's kind of, they never wear out. There's a rubber diaphragm in there. And when we were just talking about chlorine, we put chlorine in our water to make sure that it's safe. The chlorine literally eats away at that rubber diaphragm. And that diaphragm dissolves after about 10 or 15 years. Oops, sorry, my wife was just calling. So that's, we have a lot of dogs, so that's why I have her today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I should change her.
Betty is not going to be happy.
She doesn't listen to the show anyway, so it's all good.
I think I need a raise.
Yeah.
No. One other thing when it comes to the low water pressure, and I've run across this quite a bit. They have a well system, and
we got 5 seconds.
Oh. Check your filters.
Check your filters. All right, cool. Sorry, we don't want to run too long here, guys. We want to be cognizant of your time. So, if you need any plumbing, electrical, heating, air help, we're your guys. 530-230-9092, 530-230-9092. You can find us on the web at abtplumbing.com. You can find us on Facebook at Please Like Our Page. We share all this information, and you can re-listen to these shows. You can see our mugs on the video and all that stuff. And with that, thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys next week.
Yes.
Bye. Stay cool.